Hello, and welcome back to Montreal by Night. We left off the other day at Les Orphelins. By the pricking of my thumb, something wicked this way comes. We left off at that. With that quote being reused in Bloodlines a good 6, 7 years after this book was written, and many years after Macbeth was written. Um, and so Les Orphelins is gonna be next. Formed at the end of World War One, Les Orphelins, the orphans, has always been linked to Montreal's most violent elements. The packmates have adopted the style of a biker gang and are responsible for a major tough war between the mortal Hells Angels and rock machine gangs. Car bombings and restaurant shooting are becoming more and more common in Montreal. Okay. The original pack members were orphans who, once embraced by their common sire Louis le Monstre, desired to cause as much destruction as possible. The pack has never had trouble absorbing new members, choosing them from among the poor and hopeless who look for a way to fight back. Of the pack's original members, only Pierre Bellemare remains. Below the surface, Les Orphelins are the premier example of the rot that has crept into the Sabbath of Montreal. A tool of the infernalist Bellemare. The pack's brutality has seemingly predictable behavior serve as a cover for Pierre's effort to corrupt. Their lair is maintained in an abandoned oil refinery in East End, Montreal. The mass of rusted pipes, twisted buildings, and towering tanks is surrounded by high fences topped with barbed wire. Several tanker trucks remain in working order in the refinery garage, ready for special occasions. The pack often holds hunts on its lair grounds, trapping mortal in the metal maze and welcoming fellow Sabbath to join the merry chase. Rites and practices. Rite of Charybdis, les orphelins practice most of the standard Sabbath rites, but take their greatest joy in violent games. They have also developed the unique multipurpose of Rite of Charybdis, also called the Whirlpool. It involves two or more vampires biting into each other's wrists and drinking each other's blood. As each drinks, blood flows from one to the other and back again, forging a powerful vinculum. The rite can also serve as a monomacy rite, in which each vampire tries to consume the other's blood faster than his opponent, or as a way to test mortal candidates. Humans would try to keep up with a feeding vampire prove their strengths and undergo the creation rites. The whirlpool is also a very effective way to spread the diseases that taint Pierre's blood. Pierre Belmar. To most, Pierre is a successful Sabbath warrior. He is lethal in combat and tough as nails, but primarily a simple minded ruffian. In reality, he uses this image to hide his manipulative ways, goading his opponents into acting as he wishes and initiating subtle plots and strategies. All is done in service of his master, the demon Metatheax. When mortal, Pierre survived an outburst of smallpox in 1922. After wishing with all his heart that his family be taken by the disease instead of him, Metatheax was happy to oblige. After his embrace, Pierre heard the voice of the demon while slumbering in his grave. He was offered strength and power if he would spread chaos in the city in service of the Decani Lord. Pierre accepted without hesitation. Belmar has spent years since his creation building a reputation for violence. All his rivals and enemies meet dark fates, as did Louis, his sire, who fell into a Camailla trap during a raid in 1939. Pierre has helped foster the weaknesses of various archbishops, ensuring that their exposures would cause damage to the Sabbath. All the while, he has subtly encouraged attacks on churches, distrust of the shepherds, and a growing lust for violence. During the trial of Sangri, Pierre came under suspicion for having survived the Cetit poisoning, but was eventually granted an ad cautelam, a document proving his innocence. Since then, he has created cult of corruption in the city and has seduced the Malkavian anti-tribute Midget to his side. Using Midget, Belmar has entered discussion with the Tremere of Quebec City, hoping to bring them into conflict with the Shepherds. Such a war would weaken Montreal's one faction that has enough power and expertise to arm Metatheax. Were the Shepherds to ever uncover the truth of the demon? After losing the opportunity to raise his generation to Sébastien Coulet during a war party in Ottawa, Pierre has decided to attack the Queens of Mercy. He has found excuses to engage two of Goulet's childer in monomacy duels. The Queen's destruction would undermine the Shepherds and aid the cause of Ezekiel, Pierre's chosen candidate to reign over chaos. Pierre dresses in black leather and rides a Harley. His massive arms and bald head are covered with tattoos, and his eyes hide behind dark glasses. His right hand has a pistol tattoo along the palm and index finger, which he points at opponent before killing them, whispering, "Bang, you're dead." Always seem to jump to conclusions and call for violence at every turn. Goad others into acting, making them do what you want by urging them to do the opposite. Reverse psychology. Pierre has his finger on the pulse of the city. He knows of the hesitation of Archbishop Valles, the ambition of Ezekiel, and the hubris of the shepherds. Only the rebellion in his own pack seems beyond Pierre's notice. He is a bourgeois of and not a plotter nature. He has a brave old demeanor. Pierre had the following demonic investment: smell fear, hell-skinned, and master of the domain, the refinery. His blood is infected with virulent strains of smallpox, diphtheria, cholera, and hepatitis, which infect the mortals whom he feeds upon, although the diseases die out after they spread to a few mortals. Caro the Lost Knight. Knight Inquisitor Eliza Carini arrived in Montreal in the aftermath of Sangri's trial to search out any hidden accomplices, while Krieg, Eliza's Nosferatu anti-tribute partner, simply appeared in the city as a nomad. She infiltrated the circus of the Sinise Zanovich, assuming the alias Sonia, Mistress of Illusion, a follower of the past of Cathari. Eliza also took advantage of her visit to learn from the widows. As the month passed, Eliza entered the dark world of the widows, and her duties as an inquisitor took second place to her quest for enlightenment at the Cathar. Unfortunately, Pierre Belmar was ready to take advantage of Eliza's distraction. Pierre uncovered Krieg's identity in 1993. After 13 days of torture, the Nosferatu surrendered the name of his partner. Pierre then lured Eliza to the ramshackle house in Old Montreal that hid Metathiac's blood circle. Her Inquisition's instincts resurfaced too late, and she was overwhelmed by a swarm of diseased rats. Not content to kill his victim, Pierre drew on the power of the Decani to rot Eliza's body and reformed it. The demon's power also achieved a soul and will, turning her into Caro, the perfect slave. Pierre never realized that Caro was a skilled thaumaturgist. She had spent the years since her imprisonment loosening the chains around her soul. The Pack's weekly votaries threatened Caro's bondage, but for that last 3 months, she has worked herself relatively free for a few nights a week. Not yet strong enough to actively challenge her tormentor, Caro is trying her best to subtly expose Pierre's infernalism and stop his corruption from spreading. She is desperate to get to Ezekiel to warn him, but her efforts have been inexplicably thwarted by Santiago de Soto. Pierre replaced Eliza's lithe form and long black hair with a stocky riot girl. Framed and shocking red hair. Caro dresses to complement her lord, wearing black leather and dozens of body piercing. Following Pierre's orders, you are tough as nails Sabbath, as long as Pierre demands it. You tear into whomever antagonizes you or your pack. Below the surface, you long to free yourself and continue to learn the way of the Cathar widows. Caro is familiar with the location of Metathiac's blood circle, knows of the demon's plan to corrupt Ezekiel, and has experienced the full extent of Pierre's perversity. She is a Ravnos of Generation 10. Caro's slavery makes it difficult for her to use most of her subtler powers, especially when under orders from Pierre. She does, however, employ mastery to simulate an attack with a small flamethrower. Flamethrower. That's not Mario. Sister Evelyn, pack priest. Evelyn Marlowe came to Montreal in 1994 to attend to the affairs of her murdered aunt and grandmother and to find her missing brother. When the police, infamous for their lack of zeal in investigating crimes in the black community, when the police told her that there were no suspect in the brutal double murder and no lead to finding her missing brother, Evelyn investigated by herself. She found evidences of hidden inhabitant at the Douglas Hospital and made a journey to the Sabbath bar, Angel's Fall. She survived through a combination of quick thinking and the judicious use of firearm. Okay? Judicious, really? As words of Evelyn's exploit filtered down to the communal heaven, Pierre argued strategically that she should be destroyed because she thought she was as good at the Sabbath. This motivated the patriotic Marie-Hélène to give Evelyn the chance to defend herself against the accusation. Evelyn was embraced by Marie-Hélène. Pierre waited above her grave with her embraced brother Robert. Oh. Pierre told Evelyn that Robert had been saved from a mad vampire, but was difficult to control. He claimed that he needed her help to calm and train her brother, and he welcomed her into his pack. Evelyn followed the path of power and the inner voice, and drifted from her sire because of language issues. Okay. Pierre was more than happy to allow Evelyn to become pack priest, but only after she destroyed Philippe Lapeste, a child of Pierre's who exhibited too many symptoms of the diseases within his blood. As for Robert, he was destroyed during a particularly violent pack outing. Evelyn suspects that Robert was eliminated deliberately. Evelyn realizes that Pierre manipulated her. Indeed, she is convinced that her pack and perhaps all the Sabbath in the city are somehow corrupt. Unable to trust her own kind, Evelyn has accepted 2 invitations to meet Camarilla vampires from Ottawa, hoping to find a way to lash out at Pierre. Evelyn is still loyal to the Sabbath itself, but feels that she may be forced to join the Camarilla to escape Belmar. Evelyn wears a long black trench coat and shaves her head. Her chocolate-colored eyes glow in the moonlight. You issue comments quickly and sharply, and do not criticize others unless doing so is constructive. Beneath the surface, you thief with anger at the man who manipulates you. No one likes that. Evelyn is aware that her pack is more than it appears, and that Cranston of Ottawa has other sympathizers in Montreal. She has yet to discover who they are. She's a Ventru of Generation 12. Sorry, not judging, but come on. I guess I can do a bit more. It's only been 20 minutes. The wretched. Surely there is nothing more wretched than a man of all the things which breathe and move upon the earth. Homer, the Iliad. Indeed. The wretch was born from the drive of the Simise. Stéphanie Leroux to push the envelope of vampiric evolution. In 1980, she left her sire Darnovich side to pursue her goals, recruiting the bloated Nosferatu anti-tribute Elias the Well. Both vampires realized that they were changing into thin things beyond simple embraced humans. They also understood that the concerns of other vampires were mostly the vestiges of their mortal lives. The two christened their pack the Wretched and dedicated themselves to pursue their personal quest to discover the true nature of the vampire. In 1984, a raging city gangrel named Spider joined the Wretched. Together, they continue to explore the limits of inhumanity. The exploits have gained them respect among noticed. Sorry, I'm putting S's everywhere as usual. Necronomist and Simises. They support Ezekiel as the only candidate likely to build a sect of true vampires. In 1992, the Rage took over an abandoned downtown department stores and made it their lair. They have sealed the six-story building and created a large open space that's crisscrossed by the building's support beams and many platforms. Part of the basement is still used as a passageway to the Place Montreal Trust and Les Cours Mont-Royal malls, and the wretch sometimes feed on lonely shoppers. The lair houses Stephanie's laboratories, Elias' extensive library, and Spider's web of razor wires. Rites and practices. Stephanie has created a truly unique thaumaturgical ritual that requires her to prepare a cup of her own refined vitae. Those who drink the mixture temporarily gain subconscious use of vicissitude and find their body transforming to match their self-image. Ooh. The rite is performed upon entering the pack and whenever a member feels ready to evolve. This unique ritual has gained Stephanie the respect of the city's other Simise and has given her opinions weight. Stéphanie Lheureux, Pack Priests. Stephanie first came to the attention of her sire, Mrs. Tsarnovich, when she was hospitalized for extensive third-degree burns suffered when she set her family house ablaze. The inhuman pleasure she took in the fire intrigued Tsarnovich. Not only did the flames fascinate her, but she remembered being burnt as a moment of ecstasy. Hey boy. The Simesis circus owner embraced her upon her release from intensive care. Embraced by the possibility of vicissitude, Stephanie molded her body and dreamt of melding with the flames she loved. She first served as a contortionist and later as a fire eater in her sire's freak show. She even wove steel bent into her flesh to toughen it against the flames she adored. Maybe. Stephanie also started down the path of power and the inner voice, learning to pursue her own goal above all else. She felt compelled to leave the circus because Jarnovich put the transformation of mortal above vampiric evolution. However, she has never broken her bond with the sire. Stephanie looks utterly inhuman. Oh, that's her. Yeah, looks pretty fucked. Da, 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 da. She has inserted metallic strips into her skin, which appears as shining protrusion at her joints. Her face has become almost featureless. Featureless. Her mouth and eyes are mere slits. You are inhuman and above mortality. You long to combine the fire that burns within you with the fires that burns in the world. You respect only those Sabbats who are trying to reach their ultimate form. Stephanie recognizes Ezekiel's limitless ambition and instinctively knows that he is ready to destroy Montreal to satisfy his desires. Blah, blah, blah. Elias the Whale. Master of the sewers of Montreal, Elias the Whale is the bloated king of a dank and vile realm. Embraced sometime in the 1960s, Elias made the sewers and rivers of Montreal his home and remained largely an outsider to the sect until Sangre recruited him into the pack of snake hunters. Into his pack of snake hunters. Okay, Sangre is a snake hunter. After the destruction of Gerard, Elias came to realize that there was more to know about himself and his world, and he embarked upon the path of Cain. He came to feel that the true nature of Cain's progeny hid under layers of habit and humanity, layers that had to be stripped away. Elias found a kindred spirit in Stephanie, and the two formed the wretched to pursue their goals. Elias has amassed a wealth of knowledge from secret sources, and has contributed several important finds to the librarian's collection. Elias and the shepherd Sabrina have recently embarked on a twisted courtship. Elias is more than happy to use Sabrina to gain access to Shepherd's secrets. Apparently obese when he was embraced, Elias spent much of his own life underwater, becoming even more bloated and deathly pale. The crucible has only increased his size and given him webbed hand and extended feet like a seal. Elias' form is so huge that he must use potence to walk upright. Okay, you are a hunter to the core. You use your mastery of the sewers and underground to pursue your prey with a sinister pleasure. You are also a scholar and seek to understand your predatory nature. Books underwater, okay. Elias has followed Muse about as she thinks to the sewers, and he has found that the feral creature that live under the mountain seems to obey her. I guess I can finish Spider. Born Jimmy Smythe, Spider immigrated from Jamaica as a small... Oh, that's the whale. Elias the whale. And that's Spider, I'm assuming. As he grew older, he realized he was attracted to men but could not accept his deviant feelings. and instead he became a bully and womanizer. Eventually, he crept into the gay village and picked up street hustlers to satisfy his physical needs. It was this behavior that attracted Sébastien Goulet, who had always taken great pleasure in outing people like Jimmy. Within a year, Jimmy was coming to the village every week to have sex with Sébastien. The gangrel finally thought his protege was ready for the embrace in 1984 and took him during an orgy of sex and blood. Sébastien didn't know that Jimmy tortured himself with self-hatred every time he went home from the village. Sébastien revolted Jimmy, and the child experienced his most potent frenzy when confronted with his sire. Sébastien barely survived the attack. Jimmy embraced his frenzy. His animal aspect as protection against his desires, he replaced the longing for male arms with the need to hunt and kill, and he called himself Spider. His rejection of humanity attracted the attention of Stephanie and Elias, who brought him into their fold. Spider's desire comes to the surface when he is alone. He stalks attractive men, attempts to seduce them, and then force himself on them. He feeds from these vessels and has even gone as far as embracing a few, and then destroy them in fits of savage shame and self-hatred. A victim occasionally escapes, and Spider has difficulty hunting him down without the help of his packmates. The crucible has made Spider long and inhumanly flexible, and has darkened his chocolate skin to a skinny hairless black, and has made his eye a similar color. So yeah, that would be Spider. His wolf's claws now manifest a sharp hood at the end of his fingers and toes, which allow him to climb and perch like a real spider. Spider carries a weighted barbed wire lash that he uses to snare his prey. You are not human, not at all. You do not feel the longing for warm young men. You do not desire the boy down the street. You do not. He's a city gangrel. Alright, that's the end of the rest. Next, the Outsiders come back tomorrow for a new episode. Ooh, episodic bitch. And that is it. I will leave it at it for now, and I hope to see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. If you laugh at my pronunciation, lisp, accent, or whatever, and if you enjoy my funky lectures, I hope you come back. Have a good night. See you later.